40 riders, terrible conditions, likely to get worse. 28 laps, 82 miles. The lap record, which is certainly not going to be got anywhere near today, is held by Kenny Roberts. 1 minute 28.2, 119.5. Watch for the green. Has Rocket Ron done it again? He has! Rocket Ron Haslam leads the British Grand Prix fleetingly because he's passed by at least 4 riders on the approach to Copse, and it's Spencer leading. Coming up very fast behind him is Didier de Radiguez, the Belgian rider on the 3-cylinder Honda. From Copse, it's down to the sweeping left-hander at Maggots in the dry at about 140, at least 120 today. From Maggots down to Beckett's, the slowest right-hander on the circuit. It's still Spencer leading. Roger Marshall is up into 2nd place. Roger Marshall, the English rider, on the front rank of the grid on the Great Britain Honda 3-cylinder machine, not nearly as fast as Freddie Spencer's, Wayne Gardner's and many others, is in 2nd position, the 5 times British champion. Now Marshall is still 2nd, Spencer leads. They're coming down to Stowe in these dreadful conditions. And there's a lot of deep water at Stowe. Spencer on his way to club. It's still Marshall in 2nd place. In 4th position is Randy Mamola. I missed the 3rd place man. They're coming up now to Abbey. That's the fastest part of the course. In dry conditions, about 185 miles an hour if you are on one of the V4 Hondas. Today, I would guess about 150, even in these conditions. And they come up now from Abbey to Woodcote to complete the first lap, and Freddie Spencer, leading the World Championship, leads the British Grand Prix. It's Haslam now in 2nd position. Marshall is in 3rd place, and with him, Randy Mamola.
Yeah, Didier de Radiguez, who's extremely good in the wet now, is up into 3rd position, and I think he's definitely a man to watch. He's absolutely outstanding in the rain. Christian Saron, who you see there, number 6, who's also brilliant in the rain, got a really bad start, but I'm sure that he'll start piling on the pressure as time goes on. Freddie's just pulling away hand over fist at the moment, and Ron's doing a good job on the 3-cylinder bike up in 3rd there.
And Didier de Radiguez, as you say, Barry, who showed up so well in South Africa a couple of years ago in the wet when he led Eddie Lawson for a long time. Look at this, B3 Hondas, B4 Hondas. Look at the gap now between Freddie Spencer in the lead on the 2nd lap and the battle for 2nd position. And it's Haslam still in 2nd position. Lawson down in about 7th place. Raymond Roche well down on the other of the 2 Works Yamahas. And it looks as though the Honda riders, and here is Haslam 2nd, Mamola is in 4th place, Didier de Radiguez, number 9, is in 3rd place. So it's Spencer leading. Here comes the battle for 2nd. Haslam in the white helmet, 2nd. De Radiguez on the white fairing, the V3 Honda, is in 3rd place. There's Spencer leading. Look at the conditions as they come up through the murk, underneath the bridge from Abbey. It's Haslam 2nd. De Radiguez up into 2nd place. Haslam down to 3rd. Mamola is in 4th position. There's the American going through in 4th position. In 5th place, it's world champion Eddie Lawson. Then quite a long gap before the 6th place man, Gustav Reiner, the German. That's unexpected, goes through. And you look at De Radiguez in 2nd position. Well, Freddie has already cleared up and built a good cushion for himself.
Yeah, quite incredible, really unbelievable. And Didier de Radiguez is doing a great job because he's not on a factory Honda. And incidentally, Roger Marshall's just come into the pit, so that's pretty sad. Mamola's now just nipping on the inside of Haslam there. And Lawson's coming up to take on the battle. Lawson didn't get a very good start, as you saw. But the conditions are quite horrendous.
Now, actually, Spencer, Mamola, and where is Wayne Gardner? That's what I'm asking myself. He's right down the field. Wayne Gardner, number 7 on the B4 Works Honda, who's on the front row of the grid, is certainly not in the first 8 at the present moment. Rodriguez is still second, and I was saying that the V4 Honda riders up at the front, that's Spencer and Mamola, have got an advantage because their machines are so smooth. The V3s are pretty smooth, but there's Rodriguez second, Mamola on the V4 Honda in third position, Freddie Spencer on the V4 Honda way out in front now. 17 points in the championship ahead of Eddie Lawson, who is second, and Christian Saron, the only rider other than an American to have won, I think, in the last 25 Grand Prix, is in third position in the championship, but not up amongst the front runners at the present moment, because De Rodriguez there, chasing Lawson for second, goes through in second place. Mamola in third position, Haslam is fourth, Lawson is catching Haslam. There they go, in the white helmet and the blue overalls, Haslam. Coming up now, and on his left, on your left, as you look at the screen, was Eddie Lawson. And Lawson is through. Lawson has caught and passed Ron Haslam. Number 1, 27-year-old Eddie Lawson from Upland, California, is up a place. He's in fourth position now, after number 2, Randy Mamola. There is the world champion on the red and white V4, 140 horsepower plus Yamaha. Behind him, Ron Haslam. And in sixth position is Christian Saron, so he's the last of these 5 men. Second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, you see there. De Rodriguez, second. Number 2, Mamola, in third position. Then in fourth place, number 1, Eddie Lawson on the red Yamaha. There it is. Fifth, number 5, Ron Haslam. Sixth, number 6, Christian Saron. Saron is on his way. Very, very smooth, effortless rider, good in the wet.
Keep your eyes on Christian Saron, because he got a horrendous start. He was back in about 14th place on the first lap, and he's come through the field so well. And I'll put my money on Christian for at least the second place.
Who are the winners this year as we look at De Rodriguez, Mamola, Lawson, with Saron catching him, and in sixth position, Ron Haslam. Well, the winners this year are Eddie Lawson in Yugoslavia, Randy Mamola in Holland, Freddie Spencer in Spain, Italy, Austria, Belgium and France. And that is it as far as winners are concerned. And Freddie Spencer is leading. You can see how dreadful the conditions are. Even television cameras, which can often see better than the human eye can't see when they're covered in water. And that's the problem we've got here at Silverstone, and the problem that Christian Saron and all the others have got, including number 4, the leader, Freddie Spencer. And what a fantastic ride. Look at the lead that Spencer has got on this, the 5th lap. He's the full length of the Hangar Straight ahead of the battle for second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, with De Rodriguez coming up out of the fairing in second place, and nearly off goes Mamola, both feet off the rest.
I think when he was changing down, he just must have had one foot slip off the footrest, and it unbalances you so bad that you don't realise how badly you need your footrest until your feet slip off. Randy always rides with sort of 1 foot half hanging off the footrest, so it was just obviously a slip, and it's okay now. I was talking to Christian Saron this morning and asking him what the position would be if he was in front of Lawson. Are there any team orders? And Chris said, no, look, Yamahas have said nothing to me. I should just go out and do my best. So it looks like that's what he's doing.
They are, of course, riding for rival teams, albeit for the same company. And Saron is moving up and he's taking Mamola. Barry Sheen said, watch Saron, and my goodness, he was right. He's up into third place ahead of number 2, Randy Mamola.
I mean, for Christian Saron, he just dived past on the outside around what is 130-mile-an-hour right-hand corner. That is quite incredible. Just let's hope that Christian's riding with his head and not with his heart.
He's not very strongly built. He has a rather pasty complexion. He doesn't look in the best of health. But once he gets on a motorcycle, my goodness, he does go. Christian Saron, then, 29 years old, from Clermont-Ferrand, is in front now of Didier de Rodriguez, and therefore in second place. He has passed Mamola and de Rodriguez in less than a lap, and into the pits is going Wayne Gardner. Wayne Gardner on the V4 Honda is not going to do well in the British Grand Prix because he is riding very, very slowly into the pit lane, and Saron is in second place. In third position now is de Rodriguez. In fourth place is Randy Mamola, but way, way out in front on lap 6 is number 4. World champion of 1983, Freddie Spencer, World Championship leader. Gardner into the pits. Great disappointment for him. Some consolation is the fact that he won a magnificent victory in Suzuka, the 8-hour race, in front of 240,000 Japanese spectators, including the top brass of Honda, and that did not do Wayne Gardner any harm at all. Look at his visor, incidentally, as Spencer. You are watching now the smoothest, most accomplished rider in the Grand Prix business. Every so often, a rider appears who is head and shoulders above all the others of his time. And the man you're looking at now, Freddie Spencer, is that now.
Honestly, I can say in all my racing history, I've never ever seen anybody that can control a bike like Freddie Spencer. He's just a born natural rider. You know, he gets the bike, he gets the power on really early coming out of a corner, the thing slides, and he comes out of a corner on opposite lock. It's something that I've never seen before, and I'm sure other people haven't either. For Freddie Spencer to be leading by the margin that he's leading by now is quite astronomical. His bike, speed-wise, is the same speed as, say, Christian Saron's or Randy Mamola's bike. And there's only one thing you can put it down to, and that's brilliance.
Brilliance and experience. Freddie Spencer, at 23 years old, has been racing for 15 years. And he first appeared in Britain at the Transatlantic Trophy meeting in 1980. I remember it well. This American with a reputation came over, and we didn't know how good he was. He soon showed us at the Transatlantic Trophy because he was fantastic. Just as a matter of interest, Rob McElhenney, the British rider on the Skoal Bandit Suzuki, has ridden into the pits. So that's another focal point of interest for the British enthusiasts out of the race. Wayne Gardner, and I don't know whether McElhenney's retiring, but he's certainly going into the pits. And we're coming up now to the end of lap 8. Freddie Spencer, there's Christian Saron second, and you'll notice that Eddie Lawson is now in third position. The world champion is now third, and this could be significant because the two machines that are second and third are the V4 Yamahas. They've seen all the Hondas off except Spencer. It might be that their power characteristics and handling are right for this circuit today.
Well, the Yamaha and the Honda power characteristics are more or less the same. Neither of them sort of have brutal power. It's a very smooth power band, which is ideal for the rainy conditions. For example, the 3-cylinder Honda is has a real bite when you accelerate, and that's obviously not very good for the wet conditions. I just cannot believe how much Spencer, he must be leading by somewhere in the region of 15 seconds now, which is quite unbelievable.
We'll take the gap when Spencer comes through at the end of his 8th lap, and we'll see what it is. The gap between himself and Christian Saron in second place, being chased by Eddie Lawson in third position. So V4 Honda leads, V4 Yamaha second, V4 Yamaha in third position. In fourth place now, it's Didier de Rodriguez, and here comes Saron, there is Lawson. And we're waiting now for Freddie Spencer to go through. He will be getting signals, of course. Here he is, coming through to complete his 8th lap, and we'll get a time check as Freddie Spencer goes across the line now. That's 8 laps out of 28 laps completed. Thoroughly in the groove. He's got his racing rhythm. He's got an enormous cushion because it's 10-12 seconds already. There is Saron exiting Woodcote, and the gap between Freddie Spencer, the leader, and Christian Saron is a whisker below, 18 seconds after 8 laps. Amazing. Complete and utter dominance.
It's quite incredible because you work it out, they've only done 8 laps so far. He's lapping more than two seconds a lap quicker than everybody else. And on the same bike, same tyres. You know, it's quite an unbelievable feat.
As in the Formula One car Grand Prix world, so in the motorcycle world, there is a battle for superiority between the tyre manufacturers. Lawson and Mamela, for instance, are on Michelin tyres, as is Freddie Spencer. Ron Haslam is on Dunlop. Wayne Gardner was on Dunlop. So it looks as though it's going to be a Michelin race at the present moment. Unless, of course, Ron Haslam can do anything about it, and he is currently way down in 9th position. He led fleetingly from the starts. He's known for his good starts, but now he's slipped down to 9th. And Lawson is right with Christian Saron for 2nd position, but a bit closer than he has been for a long time. 27-year-old Eddie Lawson from Upland in California, whose bike is looked after by that great ex-world champion himself, Australian Kel Carruthers. And Lawson is a protege of Kenny Roberts, the multiple world champion, who's rumoured to be coming back to 500cc racing next year. Into Woodcote. This is the end of the 9th lap, and it's Saron in the blue leathers on the blue bike, the Yamaha, against Lawson in the red leathers on the red and white bike, another Yamaha. They're coming up now on the inside of that tail-ender to lap him. Must be terribly disconcerting when you think, gosh, I'm going jolly well, and suddenly 2 people ride past you as though you're standing still.
Yeah, well, the fast guys, the front runners on the fast bikes, they do pass you pretty quickly. Looking now at Christian and Eddie going, I would think now that Christian's thinking, okay, well, Freddie's 18 seconds in front or whatever, he's getting his pit signals. So he's at the end of the race, whatever happens, I'm sure that he'll end up letting Eddie Lawson pass, because as I said, Christian has no chance whatsoever unless Freddie has trouble of catching him. And it will be a good investment on Christian's behalf, considering that Eddie and Christian ride for the same company. So I don't think you'll find that Christian's going to be fighting too much.
Through to 2nd place goes Eddie Lawson. Now, Eddie Lawson is on his way, but he's got an enormous backlog to make up. Eddie Lawson has got, really, to win this race to keep his World Championship hopes alive. He's 17 points behind Freddie Spencer with 2 races to go. They're in Sweden on August the 11th and Misano in Italy on August the 1st. And Spencer goes through now to complete his 10th lap in this 28-lap race, and I've got the stopwatch running, and we'll see what the gap between himself and Lawson is, and then we'll be able to plot it in the successive laps and see whether or not Eddie Lawson is gaining. Well, there's Lawson going through in 2nd position. He crosses the line now, and the gap is 19 seconds, 19.2 to be exact. So since I last took the gap, Spencer has increased his lead. Eddie Lawson on the Marlborough Yamaha in the Marlborough British Grand Prix, so he's doing well at the present moment from that point of view, but he's got to do better. He's got to catch Spencer, who's in the lead. Spencer, number 4 on the V4, has already this year won in Spain and Italy and Austria and Belgium and France, but who has never won a British Grand Prix. And nor has the world champion, number 1, Eddie Lawson. There he is in 2nd place. He's never won a British Grand Prix. By the way, for British riders, Roger Burnett is doing well. He's in 9th place.
Ron Haslam's just retired into the pits, so I'm not quite sure what his problem is.
Well, if McKelney's out, Gardner's out, and now it's visor problems. Ron Haslam's helmet off and a new helmet on with a clean visor. this, I mean, I know it's easy to criticise, but this surely shouldn't happen.
Well, it's a very difficult thing to stop, Murray. As you were saying earlier on, Freddie Spencer, he's got a special helmet with a special sort of space-age visor on it that doesn't miss. You see Ron's basically wasting his time there because he'll rub the mist off. Within 2 laps, it'll be just as bad again. So once the thing fogs up, there's nothing you can do. Freddie is anybody with the make of helmet that Freddie has can have the special visor that doesn't fog up.
So I guess there'll be a few people beating a path to the door of the people who make those helmets. Freddie Spencer then, and there he is leading. 12 seconds now is the lead. So that means that Lawson is catching. He has taken 1/3 out of Spencer's lead. There is Lawson. And I was saying the gap in terms of World Championship points between number 1 world champion Eddie Lawson, who is second in the championship, and number 4 Freddie Spencer, who's leading it, is 17 points. 15 points for a World Championship win, 12 points for a World Championship second place, so on, down to 1 point for 10th place. And Eddie Lawson is driving hard.
Oh! Sorry about that. I don't think we need to get too radically excited at this stage of the game, because traditionally Freddie builds up a cushion of, say, 8 or 9 seconds and then leaves it at that. So he'll slow up a bit and Lawson will catch up, and then I think you'll find that Spencer will put the pressure on again. You can't be sure, but let's wait and see.
Now, there is Ron Haslam back in the race, being caught and lapped, of course, by Eddie Lawson. Freddie Spencer is into his 13th lap. Now Lawson goes across the line and the gap is 16 seconds. 16 seconds. So Lawson is gaining a little, but 2 seconds out of 18 is not enough, because Spencer can control this race from the front in these quite abysmal conditions. I've seen it as bad as at Silverstone. I'm sure I have never seen it worse. And Christian Saron isn't giving up. Lawson will be thinking ahead to catching Spencer. He's also got to think backwards, as it were, and make sure that in his plotting he allows for the fact that Christian Saron is right there behind him, about 2 machines' lengths, and just as anxious to finish second as Lawson is. Lawson wants to finish first. There's Spencer going round Club Corner. And as Spencer exits Club Corner, Lawson exits Stowe Corner, and he's at Club now, on his way up to the 140-mile-an-hour Abbey Curve, in the dry, that is. Won't be anything like that. Barry, in these conditions, how much would you say speeds come down at, say, Abbey Curve, which is normally about 145?
Well, Abbey Curve is one of the few corners that the speed doesn't come down that much, because it's a very fast kink. It's not so much of a corner as a kink. You probably go through there 10 to 11 miles an hour slower, but where the speeds do come down radically is coming around a corner like Woodcote. There would normally be sort of a 140-mile-an-hour corner. You have to take it a lot slower because you just don't have the grip. And on the way out of Woodcote, you've also got the problem of all the white lines painted on the track for the car grid. So, getting back to Spencer, I don't think we need to worry if the gap drops down to, say, 12 seconds, because I'm sure, looking at the way he's riding, he's got the whole thing under control. Eddie's pressing on as much as he can, because he'll get the pit signal that he's called a couple of seconds, but then I think you'll find that Freddie will pull it out again.
Well, Spencer this year has already done the double. Oh, his reflexes there are uncanny. He sort of recovers the slide almost before it's begun. The moment it starts, he's corrected it. He's already done the 250-500cc double 4 times this year, because he won in Italy and Austria and Belgium and France, both races. Well, he's on his way to winning the 500cc race here at Silverstone today, siding his way through the midfield men absolutely effortlessly. Spencer leads on laps 14 in this 28-lap race. That's the half-distance lap. Lawson is some 16 seconds behind him, followed immediately by Christian Saron. In 4th position, it is Didier de Rodriguez. In 5th place, it is Randy Mamola. In 6th position, it is Raymond Roche. So 3 Yamahas and 3 Hondas in the first 6 places. In 7th position, it is Dave Peterson, the South African rider, and that is certainly totally unexpected, because not only do we not expect him to be as good as that, but he's not used to very wet conditions in South Africa. And in 8th position is Roger Burnett, the British rider, on the Honda of Great Britain machine. Lawson and Saron, 1 and 6. Closing up on Mark Ordich, the British rider, on the Suzuki, ahead of them. No, it's Steve Parish. It's not Mark Ordich, my apologies. It's veteran Steve Parish, who's led the British Grand Prix himself in his career when he used to be a Suzuki Works rider. Stavros, Steve Parish. Very, very popular rider. Now doing extremely well in stock racing in this country, but has, nevertheless, with all his talent, and he's got a great deal of it, been lapped now after 14 laps by number 1 Lawson, number 6 Christian Saron in 2nd and 3rd places. And I cannot describe to you the brilliance of these riders, because to most of us who've not done over 100 miles an hour in a motor car, on a motorway, out of this country, of course, in the dry, how can you comprehend what it is like to ride a motorcycle at about 150 miles an hour round a corner in the wet? You tell us, Barry.
Well, it's not too bad, Murray. Honestly, it looks a lot worse than. And I don't believe you haven't been speeding. It looks a lot worse than it is, actually. You see the bikes twitching around and that, and it's just something that you get used to. You have a lot of horsepower to play with. You see there, as Eddie Lawson was accelerating, you put the power on, you get used to the back wheel stepping out. You have to push the tyres hard to keep the things warm, because if they get cold, they just don't grip. You know, it's like a vicious circle. You think, okay, well, I'll go slow because it's... now, Christian. If you go slow in the wet, you don't get the tyres hot, so it's a vicious circle. You just end up with no grip at all. And incidentally, Steve Parish's bike is somewhere in the region of about 30 miles an hour slower than the factory 4 cylinders, so I think that's why he's getting lapped.
Well, if you're a double world champion, you can say that, but I'm sure it's very different for most of us. But not for Eddie Lawson, not for Christian Saron, battling it out for 2nd place. Christian Saron certainly not giving up. Somebody looking bemusedly over his shoulder, hardly believing that others could be going so much quicker than he is. And we now are on the 16th lap in this 28-lap, 82-mile British Grand Prix, 500cc, very much a World Championship event. It's round 10 out of 12, coming to the closing stages. And if Freddie Spencer wins this one, I think he's going to be virtually unbeatable, except on some mathematical basis, in the World Championship this year, because he is now in this race 3 points ahead of Eddie Lawson, and if he wins and Lawson finishes 2nd, that will mean to say that Spencer would be 20 points ahead of Lawson with 2 Grand Prix to go and a maximum of 30 points to be gained, which would mean that he would have to retire from one of them, and Lawson do very well to become world champion. It's not impossible, but it's extremely unlikely. Freddie Spencer, Shreveport, Louisiana. Just over 14 seconds is the gap now. And he's done it again and recovered again. He did it whilst he was passing Klaus Klein, that tail-ender who's been lapped.
The difficult thing in these conditions, Murray, is that when you're lapping somebody, you're in a situation like Freddie is at the moment. You come up behind a gaggle of riders coming into a corner. There's only one sort of basically clean line, if you like, with no big puddles there. So to get round these guys, you have to go on sort of an unexplored line, and you're bound to hit puddles. So you see, that's all that is just it patches of water. It's not anywhere near as bad as it looks. It's just that I keep gulping and swallowing the microphone when I see it. I much preferred racing to watching it.
Spencer round Copse on lap 18 out of 28. Into the sweep at Maggots. Now he goes down through the gearbox into second gear. As he approaches the right-hander, you can see his feet operating the gear lever. He goes into Beckett's, the right-hander, in second gear. Takes it even in these conditions at about 60 miles an hour. Accelerates virtually instantaneously up in through third gear and fourth to about 125 in these wet conditions. Then sticks it up into fifth and sixth gear to go down the hanger straight towards Stowe Corner. He's lapping number 37 there, Rob Punt on the Suzuki, the Dutch rider, goes into Stowe, and Stowe is about a 90-mile-an-hour corner. Now up to fifth and sixth again, 6-speed gearboxes, into Club Corner, which is third, and about 85 miles an hour in these conditions, would you believe. Now straight through the wet stuff, trying to keep the bike upright so that it's not tipped over and risking aquaplaning, up into the Abbey curve, about 140 miles an hour, even today, underneath the bridge. And such are the conditions that you cannot even see the bridge from Woodcote. And those of you who know Silverstone will know what that means. Visibility is right down to the absolute minimum. Spencer has completed 13 laps. He's maintaining that gap between himself and Eddie Lawson, fighting for second place. And there behind Lawson, number 1 is Christian Saron, number 6. Saron up to second place on laps 6, 7, 8 and 9. Then he lost it to Lawson on lap 10. We're now on lap 19, and the positions have been unchanged for quite a long time now, with Spencer leading, Lawson second, there he is. Christian Saron in third place. In fourth position, Didier de Radiguez. Fifth is Randy Mamola. Sixth is Raymond Roche. So both the Yamahas are still in the top 6. I am surprised, Barry, that Mamola is not doing better, particularly as he says he does well in the wet, and he's on the V4 Honda.
Well, he likes the wet. He goes very well in the wet, but don't forget to bear in mind, Murray, it's the first time he's ridden the 4-cylinder this year, and he won on it here last year, but it was vastly different. The petrol tank was underneath the engine, and the power characteristics were different. So he'd have probably been a lot better off in these conditions on his 3 that he's very used to, the one that he won the Dutch Grand Prix on.
Yes, I'm also not giving Mamola credit for the fact that he fell off in Belgium and skinned his little finger and had a very painful skin graft, and he's having to ride with that now, so that may well be giving him a great deal of discomfort. Randy Mamola, then, the British Grand Prix winner on a V4 Honda in 1984, albeit a very much... Oh, and onto the grass for a moment there went Mamola. So the conditions coming out of Club are obviously very tricky indeed. He takes his foot right off the footrest there, you see, gets his weight right over to the right. It's just the angle between his thigh and his left knee, and there's Raymond Roche is starting to catch him. There's Raymond Roche. That's the first time we've really seen the Frenchman this race. Comes from Toulon, and he's an ex-world endurance champion, one of the six world champions in this race. And we've got a battle developing between Raymond Roche Number 3, who is in 6th place, Randy Mamola in front of him in 5th position. And in front of them, Didier de Radiguez in 4th place, Christian Saron 3rd, Eddie Lawson 2nd, and Spencer leading.
A man who we haven't mentioned is Gary Lingham, who's up into 7th place, which is quite an incredible ride, because he's riding a sort of a 2-year-old standard Suzuki motorbike that's probably 15 to 20 horsepower down on the works equipment that he's just behind. So good on you, Gary. I mean, he's doing a really good job.
Yes, very much a private owner with what sponsorship he can drum up, and his sponsor will be absolutely delighted if Lingham finishes where he is now. 25 years old, comes from Eltham, and he's done a bit... But there he is Gary Lingham. Done a bit of butchery in his career, went through the MCD school at Brands Hatch, and he's been riding for some 8 years, and he actually won the Ulster Grand Prix as long ago as 1981. So he's got a lot of experience, and he's no slouch, but my goodness, he has not got the competitive works machine in this race that the Spencers, the Lawsons, the Roche, the Sarons of this world have got. And he's...
Yeah, it looks as if he's got some kind of trouble, because I saw him blipping the throttle there, which... Oh, what a tragedy. Must be... I wouldn't be surprised if it's water in the engine or something, because he was blipping the throttle. You can see smoke coming from the right-hand top cylinder. So that is very, very sad for poor Gary.
Well, I wish I hadn't spoken about Gary Lingham. One of the Grand Prix drivers came up to me recently. He said, if I'm doing well, Murray, don't say anything about it. and there's poor Gary Lingham going out after we said he had done so well. Lap 21, Spencer leads, still by that commanding margin. There he is. He really just has to keep going, assuming that his bike has been well waterproofed, and I'm sure with it being a Honda Works machine that it will have been well waterproofed. A lot of the top men from Honda are here, and one of them is their top engine man, who's working on engines 10 years ahead. And when he was shown the V4 of Eddie Lawson yesterday, he said, oh yes, I can just remember that engine. It's 10 years old as far as he's concerned. Lawson, Spencer going across the line on the Honda, and he's now in his 22nd lap. There's Roger Burnett, who will have benefited from Gary Lingham's departure, and the positions now on lap 22 out of 28 are still Spencer leading in these unspeakably atrocious conditions, Lawson and Saron having the only real battle. There's Spencer, who's coming up to lap number 22, Roger Burnett, who is in 8th position and has already lapped number 8, Bert van Dolman, the very competent Dutchman. And look at the way Spencer's dealing with these midfield mates.
Yeah, it's a very tricky situation where you come up against a gaggle of riders like that, because they can only see you out of the corner of their eye, and they're not quite sure whether it's the guy that's in the position behind them, so they give you a go, you know, they give you a hard time. But Roger Burnett's riding a really good race, considering this is his first Grand Prix. It's not a bad result at all. And I think we've got to compliment Didier de Radiguez, who's on the old 3-cylinder Honda. He's in front of Mamola on the 4, which is not doing too bad either.
You're looking at Spencer, race leader, lap 22. Second, Lawson Yamaha. Third, Saron Yamaha. Fourth is de Radiguez Honda, which Barry's just been talking about. Fifth is Mamola Honda. Sixth is Raymond Roche Yamaha. In 7th position, it's still Dave Peterson, the South African. And in 8th position, it's Roger Burnett. There's Spencer. Into Copse as Lawson goes underneath the bridge. Well, I would have said that Lawson was getting a bit closer. Now let's see where Christian Saron is in relation to Lawson. Well, Saron has been shaken off by Eddie Lawson, And it's stopwatch time again. I think we must see what the gap is between Freddie Spencer, the leader, on lap 23 out of 28, and number 1 there in second place, the world champion, Lawson. There is Spencer. He's going on his way towards Chapel Curve and now down the Hangar Street. Let's keep looking. Yes, let's keep looking back. Is that Lawson? If that's it is Lawson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders who are about to be lapped. Eddie Lawson is catching, I do believe. I'm going to wait until I can confirm it on the stopwatch, but visually it certainly looks as though Freddie Spencer is being caught by Eddie Lawson on the 23rd lap out of 28. And I remind you that Lawson really needs to get in front of and win this race, get in front of Spencer and win this race if he's to have a sporting chance of winning the World Championship. Even then, it would mean that Spencer would have to have trouble. Now, here is Spencer coming through to complete the 23rd lap. Just look at the water streaming up from his wheels. Now we're waiting for Lawson to come through. The gap was 14 seconds, even when it had been reduced. And there goes Lawson, and the gap is 10 seconds. It was 18 seconds at one time. Barry, not so long ago, you said Freddie Spencer likes to have a gap of about 9 seconds. Well, he's got it. Is he going to keep it?
Well, I think the next lap will tell, Murray. I'm convinced that Spencer is watching his pit signals. The next lap will tell. I mean, if it's down to sort of 8 seconds, then it does look a little bit on the shaky side. But I'm convinced that Spencer will be just keeping a cushion. I may be wrong.
We all are from time to time, but the stopwatch will tell us at the end of this lap. You're watching a fierce charging ride by Eddie Lawson. There is Saron, who has dropped right back in 3rd position. 4th position is still De Rodriguez. Here is Lawson taking riders left and right. Here is Spencer. Now let's look back and see how far Lawson is. He should be the next rider over this crest, and he is. What did I say the gap was last time? 10.2 seconds. We're coming up to the end of lap 24 now. 4 laps to go at the end of this one. Now, waiting for Freddie Spencer and Lawson to come through the murk. There's Lawson. We're at Woodcote. Over the line. Now goes Spencer. Here into Woodcote goes Lawson. The gap last time was 10.2 seconds. And as Lawson goes across the line on his V4 Honda, it's 12 seconds. So Barry was right. Freddie Spencer is reading his pit signals to perfection. He's thinking like a veteran, and he's going to win.
Well, I think, you know, as I was saying, Murray, that he's a sensible enough guy. He'll go out, he'll get a cushion, which is what everybody wants, and he'll just play with it. Do you know, I'm sure if Eddie Lawson was in the same position, he wouldn't be diving out trying to pull out a second a lap, because there's nothing to gain and everything to lose. So I think you'll find that Freddie's in control of the situation.
The world champion of 1983 leads. There's the world champion of 1984 second. One of them is going to be the world champion of 1985, and the odds at the present moment are very much on Freddie Spencer and in his favour. That very distinctive riding position of the Shreveport man was 10 seconds, then it was 12 seconds. And meantime, Christian Saron, who has ridden so well all this race and is the only man, the only European to have won a Grand Prix in about the last 25. Such has been the dominance of the American riders. Kenny Roberts, Freddie Spencer, Eddie Lawson. Over the line now goes Spencer. Now the battle for 5th place continues. And I'll tell you that the gap between Spencer and Lawson is 11 seconds, so it's much the same. Now here is Raymond Roche right with Randy Mamola. Randy Mamola is in 5th position behind Didier de Radiguez, who is in 4th place. 3rd, of course, Saron. 2nd, Lawson, the leader, Spencer. And number 2, Randy Mamola on the V4 Honda. The American from Santa Clara is just ahead of, from Toulon, France, ex-world endurance champion Raymond Roche, who hasn't had a really good race, except for France, where he finished 2nd this year, since he decided to ride for Yamaha, in view of the fact that so many riders were getting works machines from Honda, and he thought he was entitled to a better one than he was getting. And the gap between Mamola and Roche is 1.1 seconds, very little in it. But of course, Raymond Roche is going to have a heck of a job to get past Randy Mamola, even if he gets up with him. And we are now on lap 26 in this Marlborough 500cc British Grand Prix. In, I think, equaling the worst conditions I have ever seen for a motorcycle race.
Yeah, I certainly have never seen. In the worst conditions I ever rode in was in South Africa at the beginning of '84 in the rain, but it was nothing in comparison to this. I mean, it was like a tea party. I think we've got to feel sorry for Didier de Radiguez, really, because he's right out on his own. He's in, what is he, 4th place. And he's just sort of a long way behind the 3rd guy and a long way in front of the 5th guy. So it does get a little bit boring, and then you tend to realise how wet it is when your bum gets all soggy.
Well, I will now tell you quite dispassionately, without busting my braces about it, that Freddie Spencer is 8.7 seconds ahead of Lawson. Lawson has reduced the gap by nearly 4 seconds, but then Spencer is on his last lap but 1 now. He can afford to roll the twist grip back a bit, take it easy, make sure of his line and his braking and all the other things that you have to do, because 8 seconds with 2 laps to go is a considerable cushion. But with Lawson still 2nd, with Saron still 3rd, the battle behind de Radiguez, who is 4th, for 5th place between Mamola and Roche continues. Here's Spencer, last lap but 1, and Mamola is pulling away now. Freddie Spencer, world champion designate without a doubt, on lap 27. Just this and the last 2.93 mile lap to go after he has gone round Woodcote Corner, which he's approaching now. Out comes the right knee, over goes the bike, through Woodcote at about 120 miles an hour, with the right sides of his 2 tyres just riding on the water surface, goes Freddie Spencer into his last lap. On his way to 15 points and on his way to add to the victories that he's already had this year in the 500cc class in Spain, in Italy, in Austria, in Belgium and in France. He's never won a British Grand Prix before. It looks as though he's going to do it now. Those 15 points, assuming Lawson finishes in 2nd place, which is where he is now, will increase Freddie Spencer's World Championship lead over the reigning world champion to 20 points. And no matter what happens in Sweden, Spencer would still be leading the championship, and it's a virtual certainty that you are looking now at the world champion of 1985. Nothing is certain in road racing, but Freddie Spencer would have to have the most appalling luck in the last 2 Grand Prix of the year, in Sweden and in Italy at Misano, not to be celebrating Christmas as the world champion for the 2nd time in 3 years. Spencer out of club, on his way up to the fastest bend on the course, the left-hander at Abbey for the last time. Into the murk and the driving rain and the high wind, which took a lot of people off at Abbey in practice yesterday, but not Spencer today. Into Woodcote for the last time, and as he approaches the line and crosses it shortly for the 28th time, having led from the beginning. Freddie Spencer wins the 500cc British Grand Prix for the first time in his brilliant career. And Eddie Lawson takes that second place. Still second in the World Championship. There is the Yamaha of reigning world champion Eddie Lawson, second to Freddie Spencer in the British Grand Prix. And we wait now for Christian Saron on the second of the two Yamahas in those leading positions to go through. And he does it. There is Christian Saron in third position. That means to say that as Freddie Spencer goes round on his victory lap, that Didier de Radiguez should be in fourth position, the Belgian on the Honda. Another excellent ride. Spencer taking the plaudits of the crowd. Magnificent ride. Dominated the British Grand Prix every inch of the way, and still the fourth man is not yet home. And Spencer is about halfway round his wind-down victory lap. Now, de Radiguez finishes in fourth place, crosses the line now. Fifth is Randy Mamola, and in sixth position, Raymond Roche. A split between the Hondas and the Yamahas, three of each in the first 6 places in the British Grand Prix. Victory for Freddie Spencer, who increases his World Championship lead over Eddie Lawson, second. In third position, Christian Saron. In fourth place, Didier de Radiguez. In fifth position, Randy Mamola. And in sixth place, Random Roche. Barry, a very, very interesting and certainly challenging and tough race.
Quite outstanding. I mean, people just don't realise the physical exertion, and more especially the concentration that you have to use for 28 laps in that diabolical weather. I mean, that's the thing, that the mental side of it is what really wears you out. But conditions, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
So, as he comes into the pits at the end of his 29th lap in this 28-lap race, and that's the victory lap, for, I'm sure, a quick dash to his motorhome for a shower, a meal, and a hot drink, which he very richly deserves. Freddie Spencer is almost certainly the world champion of 1985.